Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday Workshop Day. Let me just rename myself. It's nice to have an actual name. Oh, it worked. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you again, Lisa. Amazing. You brought such insight to us last Friday. Thank you for that. And ditto for Melissa, who's explaining to us what she's done in her many pivots. I talked to someone yesterday, actually, a friend that works in a restaurant, who said they've banned the word pivot from their shop, which was quite hilarious. So I think, people have thought up new words along the way, but the sentiment still remains. We're all still pivoting. But how is everybody doing? Eating right now? Perfect. Bring on the lunch while we chat. That's no problem. What's happening for you all? We've got some big reopening week activities happening here in Alberta. Obviously, same thing across the country, except for our friends in Manitoba. How are you guys feeling about everything? Positive? Scared?
I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah, I know, eh? How can you not be?
Yeah.
We're planning a wedding at the same time, so this is good news.
Your own wedding?
Yeah, we moved it from last year to this year.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we thought we were in the clear, and then we're not, and we're still like 50. We made it smaller, but anyways, it's good that now our July wedding is likely going to happen.
Where are you doing it?
In Kananaskis at the
Oh, wow.
lodge. Yeah.
At the lodge. Oh my goodness, that's
It's fast.
a gorgeous location. And are they fully reopened yet, or what's happening there?
No. So we have, the only thing we know we can do is golf. We can't spa, we can't have a reception, but the boys can golf.
Amazing. Hey, all bets are off.
They'll reopen. They're ready.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
At the same time, standards have changed. You know how in the past, when you say wedding, everyone has these heightened expectations immediately about what it should be. But now, like, gosh, anything will fly. Make it a golf afternoon and call it a wedding if you want. And
well, we have a plan. If we can't get together, we're gonna have big lunches and just hit a field out there and eat it together. That's all. That's what we'll do. Just to get it done. We're old. We need to just get married.
Just get married. That's so exciting. Gabrielle, have we met you yet, my friend? We're just putting you on the spot here. Can't see your face, but welcome and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of these. I am looking kind of worse for wear, so the camera will remain off. But yeah, I actually just purchased your digital marketing certification course, which I'm like almost done doing, and it is so insightful and I'm loving it.
Oh, I can't thank you enough for saying that. That's really good to hear. Thank you. Has there been any piece of it, like maybe just Google Ads or insights or something that you are most resonating with in your own business or work that you're planning on activating?
Yeah, I would say like the kind of more like advanced Facebook advertising is like something that I've found very beneficial.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, there's just like a lot of little nuggets in there that I was like, wow, how did I not know that this existed? And like, I'm just so thankful that I like took this course, because I'm like, wow, like I just didn't know that I was missing so much information before this.
Oh my goodness. I can't even tell you what that means to Haley and I. That's like music to our ears. And I really appreciate you saying that. It's interesting, right? I don't know if any of you can relate in your own businesses where sometimes you just feel like you're, talking to yourself a lot, but also wondering what's resonating anymore. Are things working? So yeah, I don't know. I feel like feedback has never been more important. I was just at the car wash, and this little fellow was like working his tail off. He was incredible. He detailed my car, and it was just so filthy. And I wanted to cancel on him because I had to show my house this morning and workshop, and I'm going camping. So I literally pull in up to his shop, and I have a trailer and a dog with me. It was just a gong show, but I digress. Anyway, and I didn't cancel on him, even though it was just not working. I had an interview to do at 9 a.m. at the same time. And then he was so kind. And I was thinking to myself, is he just this nice and working this hard just so I'll give him a Google review, or just so that like he, a reference or something? And then I was like, God, why am I such a skeptic? I think, people are just doing such great things out there. Yes, they want other people to know about it, but I really truly believe the best thing we can do as general citizens and consumers right now is just spread the word and share and give that kind of feedback. So thank you. It means the world. Is anyone else
Yeah.
feeling like they're operating in a vacuum a little bit in their business more than usual? You know, isolation and all. Okay. And Michelle, welcome. Thanks for joining us again. So with this spirit of reopening, there is no shortage, of course, of talk of the excitement and the anticipation of where it's headed. Hi, Vandy. And, you know, the pros and cons of it all. Someone said we're going from 0 to Texas here in Alberta to me the other day, which was not, I don't think, inaccurate. And maybe the stampede will be not such a good idea to proceed, but we can only operate with the information we have currently. So maybe I'm in a bit of a filter bubble echo chamber here, but the stories that I'm gravitating to, and I think so many of us are, and the campaigns and the viral videos and the brands and the opportunities are the ones that are so overwhelmingly positive, fun, you know, just full of life and full of people. I had a conversation yesterday with my best friend who's reopening her boxing studio, and she has survived. And she has pivoted into being, it's called undercard, but she's pivoted into, sorry, there's pivot again, expanded into more of a studio. So she has 3 other offerings: HIIT training, yoga, and spin. So for her, this reopening campaign and messaging is really important, but it really quickly got quite generic. And I thought this was really timely for us to talk about, because we want to ensure that we're, you know, giving off the sentiments and portraying messaging around like we're better together and we're back and let's do this, let's embrace each other. We're going to look at the extra gum ad today and why that was so meaningful for so many people. Like, I still cry every time I watch it, and it's been weeks now. But what is it that we want to say, and how do we welcome people back, and how do we just move forward with the information we have that we're opening, we're going to be vaccinated, things are returning to normal. There's always going to be remnants of this, we know that, but let's proceed as if the world is about to go through a massive economic recovery and we have no choice but to get on board. It would be crazy not to. We need to plan for it, and that you're going to have the best summer of your lives, without meaning to sound like a certain premier. Alberta's super summer. But you get the idea. How do we make sure that we're ready for it, and that if in July and August stuff is flying off your shelf, you're being booked like crazy, you've got this momentum in your own life or opportunity for, you know, maybe it's fall, but you are planning now, because that's what we do around here. We work backwards, and we're a tiny bit late to the game, but it's never too late when it comes to social and just pushing out messaging that's of high quality and excitement. So what is it that we can do today and this week in particular? I'm going to push you really hard, or challenge you really hard, to think about the next 2 weeks. Because as of June 15th, or let's call it end of June, when school's out, we're really truly reopened, and summer season is like, let's call it the gum ad sentiment is in all of us, and we are embracing each other. We're attending music festivals, we're buying street food, we're at outdoor anything that we want to also ensure that our businesses continue and we can leverage even one singular product or service in this particular time. If you're like social school, people don't buy your products a lot in the summer. They want to stop learning and go out and go camping and go on vacation and enjoy the 4 minutes of summer that Canadians have. So it's a tougher shoulder season for us, but that doesn't mean that we, like everybody else who may be in that same boat that's not selling ice cream cones, needs to get really creative and strategic about how they can leverage what's here now, Q3, and set themselves up for the fall and winter ahead, and really crystal balling as best we can about what it is our people need. Does anyone want to add to any of that before we dive into a few ideas I've got for you? Anything you've seen, or something that maybe makes you either skeptical or super excited about what's ahead? I've certainly been catching a few news stories about this economic recovery, and I love them. I can't get enough of them, but if you've seen the opposite, by all means shout. Okay, well then let's keep going. So, sorry, let me just share my screen here. So a few big kind of overarching ideas today, and then hopefully some action thoughts for us to take forward. Like I said, I really want to challenge you with a sort of 2-week window here. So we've talked a lot lately about planning, scheduling, pillars, platforms, post ideas, 52 weeks of topics, all those things. But now we're specifically talking about June, July, August. This is a key time for social feeds, because if you're taking vacation, as so many of us do, even if we've just sort of been on vacation, but don't underestimate how much people need a break from that break we just had. And we're desperate to get outside and be with our friends, but break in that way, because COVID was absolutely exhausting. We know that. So whether you're returning to work or not, we know that we're about to head into the entertainment season, that of relaxation, summer books, being outside, being with friends, and cruising our social feeds. We're not stuck in offices and on Zoom calls for the next 2.5 months, thank God. So let's call it 3 months, but 2.5 months of quality content that's going to start for all of us on June 15th. Or maybe just amped up more strategic campaign content. So this is where we want to think about building a strategy and working backwards from it like never before, using the tools at hand. If there's anything inside of our academy that can help you, wonderful. And then of course, just continued conversation in Social Club. We'd love to hear what you're thinking and be of the utmost support to you. So some of these truths right now, the world is reopening. Holy crap. Yes, it is. There's no shortage of articles about this, of projections, economists weighing in, small business experts getting excited. Yes, still government interventions. Yes, still lots of unknowns. But bottom line, every story, although I can't say that every time I think, does everybody feel like their pockets are really padded, or is it just me who forgot to save during the pandemic? But apparently a lot of Canadians have really saved, and they're desperate to spend, and globally as well. I think we can all agree we spent a lot less on the stuff that we maybe didn't need or that was our discretionary spending before. So you and I both know this. There is plenty of really exciting projections about how this recession recovery is going to be bigger than any other in past. And if you want to take a look at things that happened after the Great Wars, or the Dirty 30s, or other kind of the 2008 housing recession, it points towards people wanting to pull out their wallets. People want to spend. They want to catch up. With just, experiences that make them feel good, with spending money that they have and, haven't been able to utilize, and just have experiences. This has got a name, and people were calling it revenge spending. There's 350 million references to revenge spending right now. That's more than the Tokyo Olympics currently. This is a very popular global trend. It's a thing. I didn't make it up. So basically what we're saying is that this strong rebound in economic activity will lead to a deluge of customer spending. Yes, mostly dining, drinking, travel, leisure. And I'm going to classify it as the fun things that we've been missing, the connection pieces. So we're thrilled to be getting a taste of freedom and do all the things that we've been missing. This post on the right shows an example, and interestingly enough, even though it's China, I hate to say it's communist China, but let's call it a communist country called China, so we don't sound like some of the jerky leadership people that constantly call it that. They are ahead of us. They've had recovery. So has Korea. So has Australia. And you can see some of the interesting campaigns or spending trends that have been happening there. I love this one, where this company was launched a bucket-sized bubble tea to make up for weeks of missed bubble tea. And people are eating it up like crazy, even though it costs a fortune. So where are we starting to see opportunities for ourselves to have some fun with people and bring them back into our fold and be part of the roller coaster ride that's on its way up that everybody's about to hop onto? Small businesses in particular, by all accounts, stand to gain the most from this, because that's where the most pent-up demand is. In our dining experience, our cafes, our nightclubs, our bowling alleys, our movie theaters, our shops, the festivals, all of those things that aren't big box Amazon. So this pent-up consumer intensification is happening, or the dollars are there, and we need to think about how we want to be a part of it. How will we stand out in order to leverage some of that? And of course, it's not just spending, it's attention. It's relevance. And it's just being part of the community you're in, the larger industry you're in, whatever it is, being a part of the conversation, taking part in this exciting return to normalcy that's going to have a big, huge bump before normal. Gary Vaynerchuk did a podcast the other day. I just loved it. What his take on this, as always, is you need to be where the people are. Go where their attention is. His multiple books are about, leveraging people's where they're at, what spaces they're in, and generally that's their social feeds. He's talking about creating content on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok more than ever, because that is where the lion's share of the spending boom will be leveraged from. Not sitting on Google where people are like, wasting time in their winter quarantine, searching for things, but being caught in their feeds where they are, reconnecting with friends, sharing real experiences, posting about real things again, not just bullshit memes, talking about the actual things they're out doing and celebrating. I can't wait to show you an example of my friend's Derby event coming up that is like hot fire on sale right now. So yes, we want to spend, but we really want experiences. We all know this. It doesn't matter what it is, like a patio, a golf wedding like Melissa's going to have, anything, we'll take it. Not that that wouldn't be lovely. So here it is, Packwood Grand. This is my friend Tyler Regas. He owns a company called Alberta Derby Events, and they've been running Packwood Grand for 7 or 8 years now. I've done the PR and marketing for them several times over the years. And it's a really fun, pretentious derby event that people wear big hats and fancy outfits to. And over the years, I've felt a little too frumpy and momish to keep attending, to be honest. But this year, just not quite cool enough. This year, when I saw the invitation in my inbox, I was like, oh my God, like, where do I take my money? Take my money. Hey, husband in your coveralls, put on something nice. We're going to this. I don't care when it is, we're going. And I got to talk to Tyler yesterday. He's also the marketing director at Craft Brewery. So he's busy, but we were talking about restaurant industry, opening, etc. And I said, by the way, congrats on Packwood. You timed that announcement like amazingly well. He said it was totally coincidence. They had just happened to announce it. They took a chance. They said, we're doing it. If we have to cancel, we'll cancel, but we're announcing it. And there's one in Edmonton, one in Calgary. And then he said it just so happened that an hour after we came out with that e-newsletter announcing that it was on, Alberta Health Services made the announcement that, restrictions were lifting. And then the Stampede was making their announcements. So he said, we knew we wanted to come out before Stampede, and that was it. We tried to capture that. And so how are ticket sales going? I said, how's your pre-sales? He said, pre-sales, we've been live for 7 days. And we've outsold 2019's 4 months of sales, like the entire revenue for that entire year. Yeah. And he said, and 2019 was our biggest year. So people are desperate to do stuff right now. And we all know this. Outdoor dining, street level experiences, festivals, gatherings. The weather is like perfectly timed for this. I feel like we've all just suddenly eased out of our depression. Music, anything shareable or sensory stimulus that is literally shareable with other people, but also shareable online. If you are selling something that is completely online, and again, I hate to always use the example of the accountant or the physiotherapist or the service provider without the street level restaurant or the sexy boxing gym or the outdoor yoga class, but we can all think about ways to really be a part of this and again, show those helpful moments, those resourceful tools, those things that were a part of the conversation. If you're not going to sell a ton of tax return services right now because that season's passed, no reason you can't double down on building personality and trust right now. Being a part of the conversation, highlighting events in your community or other similar things, positive trends, excellent people in your community doing amazing things. You get the idea. But the question here we have to ask ourselves is, okay, if my clientele of existing customers and prospective customers are, small businesses that need accounting, what do they need most from me right now? What is it that I can help them with the most? Well, maybe that ice cream shop, food truck client, dog walking client, hairstylists are all about to become completely massively overwhelmed with their expenses and their revenue. And I can step in and say, hey, I got you. How can I help you through this big, huge bump in whatever? Or let's make sure you're set up in the same way I'm trying to do. Let's make sure you're set up, small businesses, for what you're about to experience. Artists in the park for Vandy, maybe not in the park, but how can she, if it's not going to be a massive influx of foot traffic into her gallery, if she has a physical space, or online shopping, because people are maybe going to put pause on that for a minute, how can she perhaps partner with her artists and bring everybody out of their shell to just, again, do one kind of cool summer campaign that puts her on the map, or talks about artists getting back to work or something like that. Stretch yourselves. Tell me more. And then what? Remember, you're picking up the phone, you're going to call a journalist and say, I've got a story for you. And they say, so what? Your art gallery is reopening. Tell me more. Okay, well, I've got 20 artists who are about to paint the scene of people coming back out of their houses. Ooh, interesting. When, where? Tell me more. So if you can play host to these experiences and these stories and this excitement that we're all feeling, you're going to come out in really good shape. What are those? I love this video I found, is on the Today Show actually, but it was talking about, it interviewed 50 people, and it had all of them comment on what they're most looking forward to. And it was really neat to hear what they said. And past the family, hugging my parents again, seeing my elderly relatives, there were some really fun ones in there, like just the baseball game. Or again, like a visit to the old town, or, meeting on the beach with all my cousins. So where can you make one tiny thing purchasable for them, leverageable for you in social? How can you show up there? Go there. What is it that your people are planning on doing? And then what's the message? What do they want to hear? Turning to our bigwigs, always remembering that we can find inspiration and instruction from the global brands that employ the smartest, most creative, talented, high-paid, graphic designers, copywriters, and ad campaign strategists on the planet. So when I was chatting with my friend Amanda, who's reopening her boxing gym, and I said it got a bit vanilla, it's because some of the comments, she's like, okay, well, the new murals going up on the walls, like these costing me a lot, and I got to get these printed tomorrow. So what's the campaign, Kelly? I'm like, what have you got so far? She's like, well, what about herd animals like antelopes? I said, no, don't do antelopes, do humans. We want to see humans. And then beyond that, we're better together. Go together. Let's train together. I was like, no, that could be anything. It could be banking. Sure enough, in doing some research this morning, trying to find great campaigns about reopening, summer, leveraging this feeling of coming back together after the worst experience of our lives for a year and a half. So everybody's using that language. So just be cautious and be more clever than that. But at the same time, what do you do well? On Herschel right now, the ultimate road trip bag for those who are desperate to road trip again. I'm heading across the border. Get me there. Your daily journeys, your going places. I mentioned, I think a couple weeks ago when we were looking at, I want to say homepage copy, apologies if it wasn't a Wednesday workshop, but Nike had a beautiful homepage. I love how they transition and they reskin their stuff all the time according to their latest product, but it's not a direct, usually, here's our latest cool running shoe. It's this campaign that captures exactly the sentiment of their audience at that moment. And it was go outside or go out and play. And it was like just the tail end of COVID, and like spring was just here, and it was so timely. So what's your tagline? What's your message that's not, we're better together? We got that. We all know that. What else? I think ATB has that going on right now. And maybe it's not a big campaign, and maybe it's just you're picking up the pace and the sentiment of positivity or whatever it is on your social feed. So this morning for about an hour, I scrolled hard to try and find more of the Nike campaigns, the Starbucks campaigns, just to give us some examples of big brand ad agency inspiration. And I had a really hard time finding it. So that's fair, fine. Maybe this isn't quite, people saying, oh my God, it's 100% open. It's not the extra gum ad that makes it look like we're all going to literally just emerge and COVID's gone, because that's not reality. But I struggled to find any kind of true, just sort of something that was like, we're back. come find us, or let's do this, or here's our summer campaign that could be really fun. I say the word campaign because what that is it's different from your everyday social posting, that's got a little punch on Wednesdays, and it's got a Monday theme, and it's got a Friday recurring feature. Okay, but give me something to like latch onto, that if you had the money and the talent, the people, you would make it a billboard, a TV, a radio, and a bunch of social ads, because that's what a campaign is. It's multi-channel, it's like cross-platform, exciting, and it rolls out with purpose, and people take notice. So I know that sounds a bit ambitious. We're not all going to go buy TV ads, but you get the idea. What is it that's worthwhile, posting that is a little different than before? Cold Garden Brewery down the street from me created a really neat flyover video. Like just that if you were to go to their feed and push play, you'll see what I mean. It's like, we're back. And it's almost like they've been sitting on this and waiting to launch it. And it's pretty cool. YEG Cycle, really great, just stories that they're doing right now, because they're literally counting down the days. So we don't have to expect that, especially our small business neighbors are going to have these big glitzy reopening campaigns. That's probably unrealistic for most of us. But I just want to plant a seed for you of, is there something you could do that's a giveaway, a contest? Not going to, tax anyone too much or fall on deaf ears, but just ride the wave, get in the boat and go for it. Maybe a contest isn't going to get the kind of traction you want, because people are past that. They're like, I'm not submitting anything for a contest. I just want to be outside. And so great, just get in there and go for it with them, if you know what I mean. But I think that we could probably be a little bit more clever than that and think about some of the things that we know we could launch by July 1st or August 1st. That's going to just be that extra bump to say thank you to our people that have stuck with us, or to say, hey, look what we launched, or we know what you need, or take this with you when you're headed to the beach. We made this just for you. That kind of thing. That extra gum ad, there it is. It's just referenced everywhere because they hit it so well. It just was positive and funny and fun and emotional, and it got us in the feels, which is all the things that good storytelling does. And I just continuously hear it referenced, which is really cool. I'm just shocked that more big companies haven't done something similar or attempted to. So when we think about a few quick steps here, you guys, just 10 more minutes, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm going to give you 4 suggested steps. First things, if you can, devise a campaign and do it quickly. Don't think too hard about this. Just get clever and creative by asking yourself those questions. Finding inspiration in the big brands or global campaigns, and what is their tone? What is their message and their offering? Are they doing something special, however small? It could be, consulting calls if you're a legal professional. It could be, again, just something that that is a pain point for those around you that makes sense right now, if in fact you're not going to go create a new flavor of summer ice cream, right? And then pick one product or service that's either new or existing that you could use as a springboard, and focus on that. You don't need to suddenly start trying to wave your hands and say, come on in, we got everything for your summer. Well, what if you just had one thing that was a little bit unique or different that we could get excited about and say, yeah, that's an easy purchase. I'm going there. I want that. Oh my God, I totally need that t-shirt this week or this month. We're not talking about really lasting things here, you guys. We're in a very short window of crazy, wild, holy shit, the doors are open. Step 2, map out the platforms and the posts. So could you pick 3 platforms? 1 minimum, but 3 would be ideal, that you could really drive this on. And ideally it would be, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, if that's where people are mostly spending their summer hours. But perhaps you're already well invested in LinkedIn, and that's a great spot for you, or your blog, or, YouTube channel. But I would suggest that you roll something out on a few platforms, or if rolling out a campaign is too much, just amp up and commit to great content for 10 weeks across your existing social platforms. And think of a way, this is the next step, most importantly, to create and schedule that content now. Take the next 2 weeks, give yourself till June 15th, and then roll that out. What does that involve? Maybe you do this regularly. Maybe this is the first time and you're going to start committing to this. but don't overthink this. Build the copy and the copy and then the creative assets. So just your photos and your Canva graphics. When I say get it framed out, Haley and I talk about this. So map out the dates of those e-newsletters or blog posts or social posts and start to kind of, bye Vandy, thanks for coming. Start to put dates to them and different kind of subject ideas, and then get it scheduled without thinking twice about it. You'll be so happy to have that baseline content or that punched up campaign kind of content rolling out over the next 2 months when stuff starts to go crazy. And maybe you want to take a vacation in there too, amen. But like, how can you really start to actually practice what we preach a lot and think about the summer as a season as it is, that's not just a week at a time or a month at a time. I'm saying stop what you're doing and do this now. If you could really be prepared for a beautiful July, August of like powerful content, stories, storytelling, hosting experiences, you're going to want to have some of that stuff planned in advance, and more than ever. I think a lot of us get lazier and quieter during the summer, and I'm telling you, this is not the summer to do that. It might be louder online, it might be noisy, but people are not being strategic. They're just showing up and kind of blurting out anything, and their product forward versus, storytelling forward. And then really, really importantly, spend accordingly to get seen. When we're thinking about our boosted content, this is what it's going to take. And if you're proud of what you've come up with for your, even if it's 10 social posts across 10 weeks and not 40, boost those and make them kind of like work in simultaneous building fashion, where 1 week each post gets a boost. Maybe it's a reveal campaign that at the end of the summer, or you're highlighting your 10 favorite customers during COVID. It doesn't all have to be, water slides in the park. It could be looking back on what just happened, but again, doing it in a really positive way. And then boost those one at a time, 5 at a time, whatever you want. But I would highly recommend that you carve out a bit of a budget here to ensure that that gets seen and that you're part of that reopening conversation and not speaking to no one. If you can, the next step, of course, is to build ad campaigns. As Gabrielle would have learned, and as she mentioned in the digital advertising certificate, where we talk about going beyond social posts, boosted paid social content, and building strategic ad campaigns, mostly on Facebook and Instagram. YouTube as well is great if you can, and Google. But on Facebook and Instagram, where everybody is right now, we are thinking about a cold, warm, and a hot campaign. 3 campaigns. So that is like an awareness, broader campaign that you're putting most of your budget towards to capture new audiences. So it's interest and behavior based. It's kind of stabbing in the dark, but it's necessary. We've got to have big, broad billboard style campaigns in order to capture lots of people. Then a warmer campaign that we would create a custom audience for, which is like a lookalike audience or just something that's a little hotter. That could be your e-newsletter list. They could be a Saskatoon audience that's a lookalike to your hot audience in Calgary. That'd be considered warm. We talk about that a lot in all of our paid, our digital ads classes, but ad campaigns here are going to really, really make a difference. There is going to be a lot of competition for organic reach in the next few weeks. And myself, I know that it's like, I've been saving for this moment to make sure that we're part of that. We're getting seen at the time where the traffic is about to highly increase on these social feeds, and people are posting all sorts of fun stuff and their friends want to see it. And thus we want to show up with our ad campaigns at that time as well in their social feeds. Does anyone have any questions or want to add to any of that? Maybe you're already off and running with some of your social plans for summer. Is anybody working their way through it?
Sorry, Kelly, I missed what the hot campaign was.
Sure. Oh, sorry. I must have totally breezed over it. I didn't even say it. Hot campaign being the, in Facebook, they call it our Facebook Ads Manager. They're called custom audiences. So that would be a retargeting campaign, for example, where you're capturing, your pixel is capturing people's information, their IP address when they're on your website, and you're retargeting them with ads. That's a hot audience because they're interested. They're at the bottom of your funnel. Another type of hot audience is past customers. So you can import your mailing list, for example, and create your custom audiences that way. They could be lookalikes that you feel really strongly about. They could also be, if you don't have Pixel going and you don't have a customer list or an e-newsletter list, another great hot audience set or type is the engagers, post engagers, I like to call them. So anyone who's watched your videos or engaged with your posts, and they've shown that they know you, they like you, they probably want more from you. And the idea is that with our cold audiences, think about an ad campaign that no one's heard of you yet. So you're coming out into the market and you're introducing yourself. It's very broad awareness-based kind of campaign. Warmer, you can be a little more familiar. You can be less educational, more insightful, perhaps, creating conversation. And then that final audience can almost be entertaining. Like you can really kind of hit it home and like, let's buy, let's move, let's convert. So you're moving them along the customer journey as opposed to sales funnel, but sort of same thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of, it's super important to revisit our audiences before we, of course, do any of that. And that in our marketing calendar is always a quarterly effort. So this is a really good time, of course, if you're building your copy and your content, to then think about, okay, if I were to boost this post with $10, who would I boost it to? And really the best way is to, before you create that content, think about your audience first. I often say it's the classic newsroom mistake where people will painstakingly slave over a press release without asking themselves in advance, who are we sending this to? And if we did that first, we'd know exactly how to write it a lot better and stronger and more tailored to the 3 journalists that exist that actually are going to receive that press release, versus thinking, I'm going to send this to 300 and it's going to be really generic and they can't wait to hear what I have to say. No, you better say to them what they want to hear. So reverse engineer it instead. Hi, Gay. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. Does Sheena, Gabrielle, Melissa, Lisa, anybody, have you guys got any kind of summer content planned out or just anything you're thinking of?
Nada.
Not yet.
I'm doing it for other groups though. So I guess in one sense on the design side, visually doing it, but for myself, nothing, but I'm okay with that right now.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, if you've got the work you need. What are your customers asking for, Lisa, in terms of reopening or summertime? Are they thinking about that yet?
It's interesting because I'm actually, my biggest customer base right now is actually from the States of all places. So they're full operation where they're located. But they shifted their focus into being online education. So they're just launching big sales because it's also an off season for their general demographic as well. So it just matches for the right timing. Yeah, so then my next customer would be more so, his work is super boring in the grand scheme of things. So we would be focusing more so on just reminding of his existence and keeping him active on social so that he's top of mind when, you know, a septic system or a cistern's not working. So
Right. And is that more common at this time of year, or is there anything that for him is really topical right now?
That's not like right now. This is like the shoulder season, if you will, for him as well. So summer's usually when everyone disappears, but we'll be doing more so sharing on like past videos or past jobs of like, you know, book it now so you're not left out in the cold come October when you think of it. Just trying to jump the gun on when the busy season kicks in again for him.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you. And maybe that's too a time where it's funny how little we think about taking those quieter times to actually plan out content. I think sometimes instead we panic. How do we get engagement now? And I mean, both questions are important, but awesome if you could take, you know, the summer season to really think about something creative for fall when brands will shift back into that same old messaging. I believe like it'll be interesting to see what happens for Christmas this year or for fall. Who's going to be the most creative? I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I think we'll find some are going to fatigue quickly as well, but it's like the best sociology experiment coming up here.
Yeah, You're right. You're totally right. Who's gonna like go broke first? All of us out there like spending money on events we would normally attend, or yeah. And then no money left for Christmas. The summer spent.
Kelly, I have a question for you because you did a lot of in-person events and school. Are you going to be doing that again, or are you going to do a mix, or like, I'm just curious with your plans now.
Mm. Yeah,
I
no,
know
it's a
the
great question.
conferences were crazy, right? Like they were a lot of work.
Yeah, I think like it may not be the smartest economic decision to not be doing them, but to be honest, it's more of a personal choice that I am not super interested in returning to that life. It was just so wild and so exhausting. And really, it was not the digital scalable version that I wanted to create. It was really awesome connecting with people across the country, but the connections were pretty shallow compared to what we can do together now in a community, even if it's virtual. So my goal is to create better, more, just very timely digital courses and experiences that are housed online, that can give people what they need all the time, instead of having those on the back burner and just giving those less attention because we were so busy traveling. And then come together once or twice a year, not 3 or 4 times a month. Just in the conferences, I mean, the classes and workshops were like daily as well. So there's just very little time to be innovative. And it was more about like the traveling goat show. But I'd love to come together a couple times a year with the people in the community to say, okay, like to really have it be meaningful,
Yeah, like a retreat or something, like a
Yes.
big event. Cool.
Totally. Yeah. And where people can connect because they've gotten to know each other online, so that when we come together, it doesn't feel like this frantic last minute hollow.
But that's so
There,
interesting because for your business, this really gave you the time. Like I was literally stalking you, like, what happened to Kelly? Where'd she go? I'm like, is she okay? Like, what's going on? I need some courses. And then all of a sudden you had this new suite of offerings. So it was a really good thing for you, right?
yes, there's a silver lining for sure. Like, I won't be opening my campus, I don't think, again, our campus. And that's okay though. It was one of those things that I thought we'd be there for 10 years. It was magic while it lasted. It was only open for a year and a half. But we had an incredible time while we were there. And that's not to say that it wouldn't make sense to go and rent workshop space and have classes and do that again. And I'm totally open to that. It's just that it wasn't the easiest model to run when, you have 12 or 10 people in a small class size. It just becomes really difficult to also then be traveling. And yeah, I don't know. It was a silver lining to say this COVID is giving me the time to take a break as an entrepreneur after 12 years and of go, and also just to really push reset and build the business that I set out to build in the first place before I decided to double down on live events in a physical campus.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But thanks for asking. I can't wait to see the people that I have spoken to that were sort of happy to take a break from events, like my friend Mandy from the ACE Collective as well. We both just kind of go, holy, that was a lot. So nice to be able to breathe. And but then, you fast forward after a year and a half of having said that at the outset, and now I think we all miss it too. So never say never, Yeah.
But it's also changed how people want things too, like workout programs. And, it was hard to commit to going somewhere. And now they're doing it online, or they're sending you the video to do it when you want to do it. So I think we're going to see a lot more combination of offerings.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. It's like a whole new world now.
It is. I saw an unbelievable stat this morning that was from like a Deloitte or something. It was a very big return to work study that said 38% of US employees in a sample size of 1,000, but apparently that's large for polls, say that they would consider quitting their job if they had to return to work full time and they had no option to work from home.
Wow.
I know, I was shocked.
It's crazy. And one of the clients I work for is Lifeform Chairs in Calgary, and we're struggling because of what to do, who to target, because they've done very well throughout the pandemic because people are buying these custom ergonomic, $2,000 chairs for their homes. But they just got a really big order from an office for like 100 chairs, which is great. So we're like, okay, we should go after businesses, but a lot of businesses aren't going back to the office at all, or like we're really confused as a team of where to put our eggs, because especially right now and in the summer, because working from home, like we've said that for a year and a half and it worked great and they got a lot of sales, but now it's like, okay, well, should we start talking to the people who are getting the office back and going, but whose office is back and going? It's really confusing for us right now because we don't know really literally who to talk to. We don't.
So fascinating, Melissa. You just made me think about the fact that there will be businesses that thrive during the pandemic that may not. Hopefully that's not Lifeform, but that there may be a total reversal. I mean, it seems kind of obvious that that would happen, but for all those businesses like the renovation companies and everything else, I wonder what will happen. There'll be exceptions, I'm sure, like the outdoor equipment providers, the new things that we've discovered, like camping equipment, maybe that won't change. But I wonder too, then, if we are seeing signs that employees have higher expectations and they're a little bit more drawn towards work-life balance and like perspective, which is the pandemic has given so much of us, versus pay or benefits or whatever, what is it going to mean to keep them around? And is there something there? Make that return to work amazing, or treat your staff. But at the same time, what business has money to spend on new office chairs right now too? That's a tough one.
I think it's going to be a lot like back in the SMED days where they had like the coolest place to work and then, critical mass. And I think we're going to see a huge shift in luring people back to the office.
Luring people, you're so right.
And saying like, I would love to go to an office, right? I was like, whatever, give me a Keurig and I'm happy. But
only 2 days a week.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't go 9 to 5. Like, how would I live my life?
How would I live?
Make my dinner and take care of my kids. But I think there's going to be a huge shift HR wise too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm going with the Lifeform company, because we can customize their chairs too, right? So people could pick their colors. It doesn't change the price. So, maybe we go that route where we, we come back and it's your chair. Like, you designed your chair. We make it for you. Right. Or like, I don't know. I'm just thinking of like how, like, I have a friend who works at BMO and they don't even have plans to go back till 2022.
Wow.
And they have like tons of space downtown.
Meanwhile, my girlfriend who owns a marketing agency with a staff of 10, she said that her team hasn't been in the office that she's been paying for fully. And it's a large 5,000 square foot office. They haven't been there since November. And as of June 15th, she's like, everybody's back in the office because, it's hard to get things done. And the creativity and the group think and the like collaboration is just completely missing. And I think she's kind of had enough of it, but also there's been a lot of, I don't know, it's interesting. I love how you said luring them back, but at the same time, will there though be those businesses that are like, enough, like if you want to have a job in this time, especially in our city where employment is not a given, get back to the office. It'll be fascinating.
Well, and is there more opportunities for CoWork Space too? Like
totally.
Like people like us, I would love to go somewhere.
I know, me too. Yeah.
Even the town hall, I don't care.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's what we need. If Social School Campus when we fired it up as a CoWork space, that would be perfect right now. Lisa, were you going to say something?
Yeah, so I have two thoughts. One, Melissa, totally random idea, but for Lifeform, what if you guys developed like a refurbish rehome program where people who do go back, they don't need the chair anymore, but they could maybe bring it back in, it gets refurbished and resold at a discounted rate, which is at least enough of an introduction for somebody to be like, oh, I love this chair. Now, 3 years from now, my whole office is going to get them. Just a thought. And then the other one is
like it goes to some sort of donation because they're very particular with their components. But they can recover things. That's a really good idea, Lisa.
Just in
Yeah.
totally random idea, but then like for working, I really think businesses would be better if they just started to do a hybrid first. So these days in the office, these days, like our Mondays, because we always have our Monday meetings, and then work from home on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thursday or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're in the office kind of thing, and then slowly edge that out. It's like the slow return back to how it once
Make sure
was.
they bring donuts and everything and have it so
Totally.
fun, and like beer at 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what was it? I was reading or listening to a podcast, and it was talking about how, like, oh, when we have to put our hard pants back on, meaning the pants that are uncomfortable because we've been wearing our soft pants for so long, you know, the sweatpants, the yoga pants, all those things. So now when I put my hard pants on, that means it's go time. And it's so true. It's like just shifting how you dress for work is challenge enough.
Yeah. I think too, like, I love the idea of your customized chair that is high quality, makes you want to sit there. It's the same way you feel when you clean up your office. I mean, you're going to go back, you want to feel really good about where you're sitting. Or the way that Mac has just customized, or Apple's customized those desktops with those colors, makes me want one, because there's some personality to it, or you just get to put your own touch on it. And I am not the most empathetic person. I think I just am not born maternal or like nurturing. It's just not my strong suit. So I would have a really hard time if I had a big team right now in being like, what do you need? What do you need? When I'm like, come on, you guys, we got to stick survival. But I do feel like, I mean, there's got to be a lot of HR experts out there that have a lot of intelligent things to say about that right now, about truly how important that's going to be. But can anyone better articulate why that is? Like, we've all just had all this time, but yet we're also hurting and damaged and lonely, and lots of depression and anxiety there. So like, how is an employer supposed to manage all this reopening campaigns, debt load, blah, 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 all the things we just talked about, but then also go out of their way to ensure that their team and their staff, like, it's, I guess it's a whole new mindset, or just a next level mindset, do you think?
I think it's a next level mindset, but I also think that this might be a very pivotal moment in HR itself, where the good HR people will be the ones that manage and navigate all this really well, and the ones who probably shouldn't have been in HR in the first place are going to find their way out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like speaking on to when the pandemic had first happened, and you know there was so much uncertainty, we didn't really know here at the Tanya Eklund Group what going forward looked like. I remember when they called the schools closed and we all got to work the next day, and then all of a sudden everybody you hear through the funnel is all going home now, and so we all just packed our stuff and went home and started working from home. And then when we got when things started to kind of clear up again, we all came back together, and I think that there was a sense of like everyone was so vulnerable, like all to like on a even playing field. You know, everyone was processing what we were going through in their own way, and you knew that person was going through and we were going through. So there was just like an even playing field of vulnerability, which actually created such a stronger bond with our team.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So coming back together when we all, sat back down, and we were just like so excited to be together again.
Just appreciate it. Like,
yeah. And it was like, I know she's going to have a hard day, or I know he's going to have a tough time, but just knowing that like when you do too, that they're just being together was like, I didn't even care if we were doing like 4 hours of work in an 8-hour day. It was just to be together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we used to keep our personal and our professional life somewhat separate, and I've always worked from home. I've always had that opportunity, but like I have kids and all that, and they'd be home, and it was like, you would not be caught with a client on the phone doing a sales call and a kid in the background. And now there's just so much more it's just more okay that we're all just humans. Like, you're like, even the lawyer, I had to deal with a lawyer for an unfortunate incident, but she had kids, and that was okay. It wasn't like unprofessional. It was like, yeah, that's okay. Like, go deal with your kids. We'll meet tomorrow. Like, even if like, I'm not very empathetic either, but it's just more, I think it's just, we're more real now than we we used to be.
We're just forgiving, and we're like accepting of what it means to be human, because I think you walk into the office and you just drop all your personal stuff at the door. But there's so much more of you, and this, you know, ties into this whole humanizing of your brand. Like you got to be able to be you in your setting. Otherwise you're robotic, and that's not, you can't connect on that.
It's funny because I almost feel like it's like removing the idea of even of what I had said of like, you know, being of coddling or feeling like, oh God, I have to make sure that everyone's okay now, but I don't know how I'm going to keep this business running first and foremost. But really, I think that like scratch that idea and just create an environment where it's just like you just said, Haley, where we're all able to at least just be ourselves. And I actually don't know anyone, business owner or new employee, that isn't like able to wrap their heads around that and this more humanized version of ourselves that we're returning to. The other thing too that we can't forget is that we haven't just emerged out of COVID. We're coming back having now experienced Black Lives Matter, you know, the indigenous realities around us, you know, the political climate that we witnessed last year, just so many more things that were like humanizing, leveling, eye-opening. So
much has surfaced, so much is surfacing. Yeah,
totally. Anyway,
gonna be the best summer ever.
You in the park with a red wine.
I think we're gonna be naked in the streets, just running around like.
Can we leave ourselves or leave each other with one example? Have you guys seen anyone, a brand or a personality that's become more human? Maybe it's a celebrity, but someone that you got to know over the pandemic that you didn't know as well before?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I'm the flip side. I actually like totally stepped away from social media through the pandemic because I found it would like business ownership and all that stuff too. So it's twofold, but I found so much of what I was seeing or the people I was following who were other business owners or other gym owners, I was like just not handling things well. So I totally stepped away instead.
Yeah,
that's
fair.
It's been neat how a lot of people have tried to become influencers over the pandemic, like just regular people. I've noticed that a lot, where people were like, okay, well, I'm just gonna start sharing stuff and then I need to get 5,000-10,000 followers and then I'll get paid for it. It's really interesting. I've seen a lot of friends do it. And I think they're getting a little more than free stuff, but it's a lot of work. Whew.
Yeah, it is. And I wonder what the catalyst of that is, like if that actually gets boiled down to because I can't go back to doing what I was doing and I can maybe make a go at this, you know? Anyway, okay, well, thanks you guys. It was really nice to see you all. And it's going to be a fun few weeks ahead as we watch, you know, as humans, we get to reconnect, but also just seeing what is happening in marketing campaigns and successful stories of brands resurging. And I just can't wait to watch. This is now the season of small business ahead. So hopefully if we're not one ourselves, we can find a way to support them and hopefully somehow leverage some of that excitement along the way too, in the most authentic way possible.
I love it.
Thanks for joining. So nice to hear you all. You too.
Bye guys.
Bye.